everybody, welcome to our latest webinar. We're joined today by Alisha, that you may know.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello,
Alisha.
I'm Alisha.
Nice to see
Hi,
you.
Laura.
We're also joined
Nice
by
to see you
Madhu.
too.
Hi
Uh,
everyone. Hi
Hi,
Laura, Hannah,
Madhu.
and Alisha.
And we've got a special guest today. We've got Hannah. Hannah's an OSCE trainer. Welcome, Hannah.
Hi, welcome everyone.
Thank you, Hannah. Nice to see
Hello,
you.
welcome, Anna.
So let's talk about OSCE because there's going to be some changes that are coming up in September.
Yes, there is. NMC put on their website end of July, beginning of August, some changes that are coming to the OSCE. So it has been out to a new provider. So the OSCE is actually designed by a provider, by the educational provider, and last year it went out to tender and went to someone new. Just some small changes at the moment, and some welcome changes in some areas, which is good. So first one is they've increased the station timings for 2 of the stations. So MSU urinalysis has been increased to 12 minutes from 8 minutes, which is a very welcome change because it was very difficult to do in 8 minutes. And I felt it was like
agreed.
the pinnacle of my nursing career of 20 years to be able to get that station done in 8 minutes because it was so difficult. So that is really good, and good that the NMC have listened to feedback from educators on that. And they've also increased the fluid balance, which is on the written stations, from 12 minutes to 14 minutes, which again is a really good move, because sometimes we naturally make an error and there's not always time. You recognise it, but not always time to go back and complete it, and then you get an automatic fail, which is sad. So those two are good changes. What else have they done? So in-hospital resuscitation has been removed out of the new marking criteria from September the 9th. So interesting move, and that's for adult and child. However, the NMC, I did email them about this actually directly just to confirm, because I was surprised that it had gone, but it has, to say that it has temporarily been removed, but all stations are subject to coming back in again. So and they also always advocate that holistic approach to your training and being prepared to do any skill and procedure, which is kind of what I do with my training as well, is to make sure you're not just kind of learning for the test, but learning so you understand these skills. And basic life support is obviously a really key skill when you're nurses in the UK, because you do have your duty of care to stop with someone who's collapsed as well. So I'm going to keep it into my training, so I think it's good to have a little refresh on that anyway, not to lose that skill. And they've made some changes to ANTT. So in the past there was a very clear verbalization around clean hands and dirty hands, but they're going and following the ANTT guidelines, which is around that kind of not contaminating your key parts and your key sites. And the other thing they've introduced for child nurses, which is also really good, is the full range of PEWS charts. So PEWS is your Pediatric Early Warning Score charts, and before they just used 2 of the age categories, but there's 4 different charts for different age categories in line with NHS England, so they've brought those in as well. And I think one of the biggest changes, and this will, as more candidates go through on their resits, we'll get more information about this, is that they have said that they would be bringing in different scenarios to test the same skill. So this is to prevent students thinking, oh, I did these medications for this station, I'm just going to learn those medications and go back. And they're trying to get rid of rote learning, which when you just purely memorize what you have to do and go and do the exam. So for resit students after September the 9th, you may have a different type of scenario to test you on that failed skill. So don't assume you're going to go back and have exactly the same paperwork that you have before. And again, we'll just need to see what changes the test centres do to implement that change. So that's an overview of the main changes.
Okay, thanks, Hannah. Do you guys have anything that you want to ask Hannah about OSCE or anything? Do you know of any of your followers that have got any questions?
No, but I had read the guidelines. I saw there was one part regarding the Viva. So out there they mentioned that the candidates will be given an opportunity to correct their errors. So the examiner will give them some time to they can just correct if they have committed any errors, but then it's not related to the writing stations, and if it's related to the safety, it will not be considered. But if there's a small minute points that they have missed, it will be considered. So I just wanted to make sure with Hannah, that is it true that they can verbalize it and they can correct the error? Okay.
Yeah, so the Viva actually came in October 2023, so it's been going quite a few months now, actually. Initially, it was just for one station, but I think, can't remember the exact time, but then they brought it in that you could have a Viva for up to 2 stations. It is down to your examiner's discretion, and you have to demonstrate a good level of competence through that skill. And like you said, you might have missed one aspect of verbalization, and they will at the end will ask you some questions to allow you to try and rectify that mistake. Like you said, it can't be if they've done a critical patient safety thing. So if you've given the wrong medication or you haven't checked your patient's ID, then you won't be offered the Viva. And you'll see when you get your results, it might say, you know, this station was passed using a Viva, or a Viva was offered, but the candidate did not provide sufficient explanation, and therefore the station is still a fail. Yeah, so the Viva's been around a while, and it's taken a little while, I think, for it to really be used, but starting to see more results with the Viva. Like I said, it doesn't count for your written stations, so your planning, it doesn't count for your written clinical skills stations, but your practical API stations and your practical clinical skills. So again, it's a really good move, and again, if you are being asked questions at the end, that is a prompt for you to think, okay, I've definitely missed something, I need to try and remember what I've done and try and explain that to the examiner. So it is a good move, and it has helped with increasing the pass rate.
That's really helpful, because I know, like, many of my colleagues, they failed the stations just because of the minor mistakes which they could have corrected later on, but like you said, that it's taking some time to get implemented. So it was last year 2023 itself that we had our OSCE on October, but I think by that time it was not yet implemented. So it's really helpful. So I think it will increases the chance for the candidates to pass the OSCE in one go rather than the second and the third attempt. You know,
Yeah,
OSCE is really traumatizing.
It's a very difficult and stressful exam.
Yeah. It's very stressful. Like the ones did you tell me that midstream unit urine analysis. It's really good that they increased the time frame for that, because even during my OSCE, I had the same stations, and it was really stressful that within a small a period of time we need to do everything. We need to interpret the result as well. So, and we already have a lot of anxiety, the exam anxiety, and it's really good that they considered increasing the time frame.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Alisha. Madhu, have you got any questions about OSCE and the new process?
No, actually, I read, these changes are quite good, for candidates to pass the test, and we welcome these changes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I've kind of gone about it the wrong way, but I wanted Hannah to talk a little bit about what she does as an OSCE trainer, because Hannah's an independent OSCE trainer. So Hannah, would you like to elaborate? I'm sorry.
That's fine. Yeah, so I'm independent OSCE trainer. Obviously, come from a background in obviously my nursing background, but I'm a university lecturer as well, so I've got education background as well. So I offer mainly one-to-one. I like doing one-to-one OSCE training. I'm not a big believer in big groups and big training centres. I think they're really ineffective and really, really expensive, and not always accurate. So I really tailor my sessions around what my client wants to have, really. So I can do some online, a mix of online and then in person, and I try to embed the theory, like really, really important that you understand what you're doing and why, mainly, well, predominantly for patient safety, because when you've got your PIN, you're then accountable to the NMC, aren't you? And if you've just learnt things you memorise in a video or memorise in a marking criteria, you don't actually understand all the time what you've done. So really keen on embedding the theory and then putting the practice on top. But also, if you know the theory, know what you're doing and why, when you're in the exam and your memory falters, because it does, because like you said, Alisha, it's really stressful, and when we're really stressful, our mind goes blank, you can just fall back on your underpinning nursing knowledge and get yourself through that station, because you know what you need to do. And I just can be really flexible to what my clients need, really. So I've got a whole range of different options. I don't run set training dates, I don't run set courses. I just work around, maybe a lot of my clients are already working in the UK, so I might do some evening online sessions, and they might travel down to me for some face-to-face contact as well, or we can do all online or face-to-face. And then I just offer all my training resources as well with that, and just a lot of ongoing support, because a lot of it's around building confidence, isn't it, and feeling you can go into the exam and feel really confident with your knowledge and what you're going to do, because it is really nerve-wracking. It's some of the stations are very difficult due to the time restraints, even as a very old experienced nurse. So I had to practice quite a lot to get done in the time, and it's very unnatural as well, isn't it, because in real life I wouldn't be under massive time constraints to do some of those skills, or if I needed some help I would go and ask somebody, and that's kind of around, that's how we think about safety as well, isn't it? And the OSCE is quite alien to those type of things. So that's what I do, really.
You do it well as well, because you've got quite a high pass rate, haven't you, as well?
Yeah, I have got a good pass rate when I did training for the trust, and then good pass rate. I mean, anyone can pass the OSCE, it's not unachievable, but it doesn't really matter where you go for your training, or your whether you're self-studying or go to training centre. The key to passing is putting a lot of work in, and having that confidence, and using your nursing knowledge is really important to get you through that exam as well. But it is very achievable to pass first time, and I know there's sometimes this feeling that, just try and get as many stations done as possible, and then I'll go back and repeat those and it's much easier, but it's a really expensive process, massively expensive process for individuals, isn't it, and also trusts. So yeah.
It's nice, because lots of candidates who are working as a carer and they want to do OSCE by themselves, so you will be very helpful for them, I think. So definitely those candidates who are watching this video, they will contact you.
Yeah, definitely. And I have helped like local candidates that are working as healthcare assistants, and it's really difficult to take a week off work to go to a training centre, travel to a training centre, pay for accommodation, potentially pay for childcare. A lot of my clients have children as well, and it seems adds up to be a really unaffordable cost, doesn't it? But also, them getting their nursing pin will then, open up so many different job opportunities from just working in as carers. So I want to provide that kind of flexible approach for people, so they're not having, confined to going to training centres, which don't always provide the most evidence-based and best information either.
So what's the difference between adult nursing OSCE, pediatric nursing OSCE, and mental health nursing OSCE?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, the main difference is the content and the volume of content. The adult OSCE has a huge content, and much bigger content. So, for example, child OSCE has 2 different API scenarios. They can get tonsillectomy or asthma. Adult OSCE has 12 different scenarios. Skills, child skills is 7. Now they've taken out resus. Adult skills is 21. So the content is much lower, and again, it's even smaller again for mental health and learning disability. Whether that will change, I don't know. I would expect, the child to increase. If I'm really honest, I don't feel the child is adequate enough, or the mental health is adequate enough to really test competence in that field. But again, we will wait to see if any of those changes come through, and it's finding that line, isn't it? Because I believe the adult OSCE is probably too much information really to take on board and to learn, and the others are most probably not enough. Midwifery, they've increased that as well recently, and made some changes to midwifery as well. And I think I did well, though I don't know if I confirm. I don't know if you know this, Laura, that if you are trained, say if you're an international nurse trained as an adult nurse, you can actually just come over and do your mental health OSCE and gain your mental health pin, without having a mental health qualification. So I would imagine that would be a catalyst maybe to increase the content of maybe the other specialties exams, but I don't know, it's just my opinion, I think.
I think that's right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Hannah. Did you? No, go on, Alisha. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to ask, since the mental health and adult and the pediatric OSCEs are completely different, and the contents and the volumes are entirely different. Which one is the hardest OSCE to pass according to you?
I think most probably the adult. Unfortunately, when the test centres publish their stat, it's for all fields. It's quite difficult to pick out pass rates where you don't know the pass rates between the individual branches. So when you look at that data, that is for all the fields that are going on there. I think it depends, whichever one you're doing, it's your level of experience, isn't it, and knowledge. But I'd most probably say because of the content, it would be the adult, because there's just so much to know and remember and to verbalize. The verbalization is most probably the hardest part of the OSCE, isn't it? Because we're used to doing these skills. We know how to give medication safely, but it's being able to do all that verbalization under pressure. Obviously, maybe English isn't always the first language as well. So yeah, I definitely say adult, just because of the amount of content.
That's really true, because like I said, like I also appeared for the adult OSCE, and the contents seem to be so huge, and like as an international nurse, when we are like having a transition from one country to another, when we are new to all the new policies, and within a month or so we are expected to appear for the OSCE exams. But thankfully our Torbay Trust, they provided us a very good training. But then yes, unfortunately, like many of my other cohort members were also not able to clear the OSCE, and the Viva thing, I guess it was not implemented back then, but I strongly feel like had it been implemented, and even like you said, it's very expensive, the OSCE fees. So it could have been saved, because some of my cohorts, they failed stations just by the minute details, which they could have just verbalized, and they could have just cleared the station. It was very stressful, but yeah, somehow I managed to pass. Even I was like, no, I'm not gonna make through. It was because the main thing was that MSU, so it was like very stressful. So I was like, and now they have increased to like 10 to 12 stations. I don't know, I forgot, because I appeared in last year. So even I got to know that they have increased the station as well. So by knowing all the details, so when you are a new nurse in a new country, it was very stressful. I hope whichever things that they have implemented will be really helpful, like for the new nurses, or whoever is coming very soon out here in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely, Alisha. And I think when you are recruited in through the trust, there is that time constraint on learning, isn't it? When you're self-sponsoring, you can have the luxury maybe to take longer to learn the content, but it is a real big ask. When I did my training for the trust, when I took it over, it was a 12-day program, and I instantly increased it to 3 weeks and then to 4 weeks because of the volume. And it's thinking about all these other factors, moving to a new country, settling in, at the same time, my nurses were trying to get accommodation. That was really stressful. It's a massive ask, and you're, learning about your new job as well. And the other thing I implemented when I took the trust training over was to pull all the nurses out of clinical practice until they'd done their OSCE, because I felt you're learning even more new and different information whilst working on the wards. It's not always helpful in terms of the OSCE because of the way it runs and the strictness of it. They're picking up different ways of doing things which are not helpful for the OSCE, and also just really stressful because you're every day going into working with new people and learning different things. So yeah, I was quite an advocate for keeping nurses out of the trust until they passed their OSCE, and just taking that stress away really of working in a new environment and working and learning for the OSCE as well.
Yeah, I think also, just because I know that Alisha was talking about the hardest exam, I think it's also important for people that are watching to know that if you took the CBT in adult nursing, you couldn't then take your OSCE in mental health nursing. You need to take your CBT in one area, obviously, that you've got the strongest expertise in, and then take your OSCE in that area as well. You can't work in mental health nursing if you have an adult PIN, you've passed your adult OSCE and things like that. So you just need to make sure that you pass the test for the area that you have the strength in as well. Because even if you were an adult nurse and you took the mental health OSCE and you passed your mental health nursing OSCE, and you then had a mental health nursing PIN, if areas are going to look at your CV and see that you're pinned as a mental health nurse but you don't have experience as a mental health nurse, then they won't interview you. So it's really important for you to stick down the path that you're trained in.
Yeah, I think that's really important, Laura, because sometimes it's not just about getting your PIN, it's about your employability and going into jobs, but also feeling, competent and safe into the speciality that you are working in as well. So that is really important. Sometimes there can be a bit of a feel about just getting your PIN, get through the OSCE, get your PIN. But, you know, thinking about that long-term accountability and, you know, your knowledge going into that area as well is really important.
Yeah,
Very
perfect.
true. Yes.
Thanks, Hannah. It was lovely to see you today. Go on, Madhu.
I have one question actually. I have a few friends who have done their masters in India in psychiatry nursing, mental health nursing. But when they came here, they have registered themselves in adult nursing. But now they are adult nurse and they want to have registration with mental health nursing as well. So is it possible for them to have two registrations in UK or?
Yeah, you can be dual registered. So they could either, there's two options for them, I suppose. Maybe I don't know what the easiest. One, it would be just to sit the mental health test of competence and do it that way and get that dual registration. The other one would be to do a mental health nursing program affiliated with the UK. They'd need to do one like a pre-registration one, so they get the practice hours in order to get their PIN. Sometimes, and I've had a couple of tutoring clients that they've come over and done their masters in nursing, thinking that will get them a PIN, but because the masters are postgraduate, so they're just the theory courses and not linked to placement hours, they don't get their PIN. So that can be just something to be aware of, really. If you are looking at doing university-based study, be really clear if you're doing a course which contains practice hours, which would get you an NMC PIN, or just postgraduate theory-based modules, which will get you the qualification, but not an NMC PIN, okay? So I've worked with a nurse who got her master's over here, but has been working as a healthcare assistant because she didn't realise it didn't come with a PIN as well.
It's interesting.
Yeah, if they are doing 1 year of masters, then they will not get PIN, I think. And if they're doing 2 years of masters, so they will get PIN.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think dual registration is really good. I think, definitely if I had my time again, I'd dual register into mental health as well. It's such a huge component of nursing now. When we teach UK nursing, we teach very much across all specialities in the first 2 years, and you can't really separate mental health and physical health any longer. It's very much a combined, and it's such an important skill set because you will deal and look after patients with both physical and mental health conditions all the time. Yeah.
Thanks, Hannah. Thank you for joining us today. It was really, honestly, really insightful. I love talking to you because you just have all the knowledge. So thank you for coming. You do. And I'm going to post the links to Hannah's website and Hannah's YouTube channel and everything else in the what's it called? The stream of the YouTube video. I'm not as bloggy as Alisha and Madhu, but I do my best.
So I think I have seen Hannah's page on Instagram. I have seen, I think.
Oh, thank you, Madhu. Yeah, I think I've seen you as well. Yeah, I'm just slowly building it.
I will follow you now.
Yeah, just slowly tweaking away about it. But no, I'm not a big influencer or anything like that.
You just do your thing, yeah.
You will be very helpful for those who are working as a carer and they are already in UK and they want OSCE training, because lots of candidates, they are contacting me, are you providing OSCE training? But I provide only OET coaching. I don't provide OSCE training, so I will refer them to you. Yeah, it will be helpful for them. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, Hannah. Really appreciate your insight in the new OSCE.
No, that's okay. Thank you. Nice to meet you both, Madhu and Alisha.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Bye, lovely. See you later.
Bye.
Oh, that was so nice.
Yes. Sorry, Laura, it's just because the weather outside is really bad, so my Wi-Fi connection keeps going on and off, so I keep getting logged out.
No, don't worry. So let's move on quickly. So what questions do you have for me and the team?
Same questions.
I know, it's it's really frustrating at the moment. We are still waiting for roles from the hospitals that we work with. We're working really hard behind the scenes, and we've got meetings in place, trying to make things work and trying to get more roles basically, but we're still waiting, and even the fact that now we don't have any roles. We're not doing any more interviews until we've got roles, because we've interviewed a fair few people that are obviously waiting for their cause. So we're not going to be interviewing until we have suitable roles, and we've obviously given roles to those who have already got their first offer letter from us. So that's where we are at the moment. We're recruiting sonographers at the moment, but that is not for an NHS trust. That's for a private company, and we're recruiting mental health and learning disability nurses for Devon Partnership Trust in Devon for a new learning disability unit. And that's it. So as you guys know, to be hired as a learning disability nurse or a mental health nurse, you need to have passed the CBT and have a lot of experience in those areas, or examples of caring for a family member or a patient or a friend that has a learning disability. So that is where we are job wise at the moment. If people have an offer, we're not in a position to be taking offers away from people. That's not the case at all. We would just say, just keep up with what your CV says. So if you're working when we interviewed you, please do carry on working. Don't resign until you have a cause in your hand, because obviously that will make things difficult for you, for your family. You won't have the money, and we don't want anyone to be in that position where they don't have money. If your documents are expiring, wait until our team gets in touch with you to say that we have a job offer for you, and then you will have time to renew those documents before you so your COS will be issued, and then we'll give you the time to renew those documents. So once you've had confirmation from the team and the team have told you so, that is your opportunity to then renew X, Y, and Z documents that you need to. But please don't be spending extra money. Please don't resign from jobs until our team gets in touch with you to say that we have a job for you. we're I wish I had jobs to give to people. I didn't, I love being happy and giving great news. That's why I took this job, because I love working with international healthcare professionals. I don't like giving bad news, no one does. But we have to wait. If we had the jobs, then people would be here, but we are unfortunately waiting, and it's very frustrating, and I get it, but we don't have the jobs, so there's nothing I can do.
Yeah,
Any
because
other
lots of candidates,
questions?
lots of
I
candidates were
know.
asking, like they had interview with Devon like last year, and still they
Yeah.
are waiting for their COS. So I have got one question, like one person, he had got COS, got visa, but due to sickness she couldn't travel. So employer has like removed her offer, and she's asking whether I can apply for job again. And
With us,
not with you, like not with Devon,
just in
maybe with
general.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. So if her visa, so I don't know if you know, but once you've been issued a certificate of sponsorship, a cause, no one else can issue you a cause.
Okay.
So if you have been issued a cause on the Home Office system, no one else can issue a cause. So we've been in a position where people have been issued causes, but they didn't know they were issued a cause, and then we've tried to issue them a cause, and then we can't because they've already been issued a cause.
Oh, yeah.
So she just needs to double check that she's not still on the Home Office system. So just get in touch with them and just say, can you just double check that I'm not on the Home Office system anymore? That's the only thing that I would say. But of course, yeah, it's not, it's not her, it's through no fault of anybody's that she had to withdraw. So she's happy to apply again to other places. That's fine.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
And do you think like anytime this year can recruitment start again, or?
I hope so. I really hope so. But if you'd have said to me at the beginning of the year, when do you think it would start again? I would have said April. New financial year, new money comes in.
Yeah.
It makes sense, doesn't it? April. I genuinely thought that. April came and went, nothing happened. If you said to me then, when do you think? I would have said end of the summer. We're at the end of the summer.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know, and I can't guess, because if I give a date and I guess and it's wrong again, because I genuinely said April and I'm shouting April from the rooftops, I thought it would be April and it wasn't. So I hope it'll be this year. But if it is this year, obviously we're going to be looking at people that we've already offered. So if you haven't had an interview, I'd say it's most likely going to be next year. Hopefully this year if you had already had an interview, but I genuinely don't know.
Yeah, it's very difficult question
So
to
Laura,
answer.
sorry to interrupt. Now I was just wondering, like, because I'm in touch with some of the like resident nurses out here, like they have been recently hired by the London Trust. So I wanted to know if it's the problem with only the our Devon Trust, or is it the same thing going on with the other trust as well?
It is the same thing going on with Edge Trust. So ultimately, the issue is funding. So as we know, Ruth May had the international nurse mandate where she wanted to hire 50,000 international nurses into the NHS, which happened. So that was done at the end of December last year. So as soon as that was done, there was only a little bit of carry-on funding, which is where the emergency nurses, there was 4 emergency nurses in March. They went to Torbay, didn't they, to the ED department. So there was some rollover of the funding, but ultimately the funding has now finished, and the hospitals are hanging on to wait and see if there will be more funding. So the London trusts have kind of got it sorted where they know that, you know, they need to pay X, Y, and Z for their international nurses, and they're happy to do that, which is great. But a lot of the trusts, other trusts outside of London, don't have that, you know, the foresight and the knowledge and not the knowledge, just knowing that they would need to then carry on once the funding stopped. I don't think we expected it to happen so quickly and for the taps to be turned off so quickly, which is what happened. So now a new government is in, we're kind of waiting for them to announce if there will be another batch of funding, and what will happen for the hospitals then to have that funding for international nurses in the future. So that is where we are. We're literally waiting on the government to announce if there will be funding. And there are some hospitals that are happy to fund it themselves. And that's where we are, you know, at the moment. We're trying to find hospitals that are happy to fund it, and go ahead without the funding. So we're waiting for funding. Trying to find hospitals that want to take the nurses, that don't have the funding. So yeah, we're kind of in that position at the moment. We're trying. I can't tell you how hard we're trying. We're trying so hard.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's a difficult situation, but we're trying, and it's not because, you know, we don't want the nurses. We do, and we've got loads in our pipeline, and we're really excited for them to come, and we can't wait for that time. We're just waiting for the opportunities to come now. Yeah.
People are very stressed because of interviews and recruitment. They have already passed exam.
I know. The only consolidation that I've given to a few nurses, and I would say now, is if there was no need for international nurses and healthcare professionals in the future, then I personally wouldn't have a job. So the fact that I've got a job is probably good news for them, because it means that it will carry on as it is and as it has been. So yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we'll hear good
pray
news.
and hope for the best.
I do as well. I pray and hope for the best every day, you know, hope that we'll have some news. So we're just praying for good news now, really. That's where we are. So
yeah.
So, and anything else that you guys want to talk about apart from the big question?
No, actually this recruitment only, because all are worried about recruitment and always same question they are asking.
I know.
And actually we can't give the exact answer as well, because we don't know the exact answer.
I don't know. If I knew, I would love to. I would love to give the answers. I'd love to give everybody jobs. I really would, but we don't have the answers and we don't have the jobs, so we just have to wait.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they can wait and they can work where they are working at the moment.
Exactly. Just keep getting your
family.
Experience up. Exactly. Because, you know, everybody's, you know, CVs are getting bigger. Everybody's working. Everybody is getting that experience. So keep working, keep getting your experience.
It's good opportunity for freshers as well to gain experience, so that when recruitment will start, they can like show their CV and they can get jobs as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Keep working, because you know, everybody else is working. So and it is a competition, isn't it? Really, it's gonna who's the best, who's got the best knowledge, who's got the best CV. I don't think we're going to be in a position that we were a few years ago, where hospitals just take nurses. I think they're going to be looking for speciality nurses when it starts again. I don't think there's going to be a huge need for general medical surgical nurses anymore. I think it's going to be more theatre nurses, you know, specialist nurses in specialist areas. So find a specialty that you like, and gain that experience. Yeah.
Yeah, we are in my department we have advertised theater nurses, but nobody's applying. So we need theater nurses here.
Well,
Yeah.
I think, as I said before, people. Oh, Alisha, you're on mute. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. And Laura, like talking about the experiences, like there are few of the candidates who have asked me, does the clinical work gap, does it have impact on the interview? Like there are some nurses who doesn't want to work and who just wants to take a gap and wants to prepare for the OAT and further on. So how much of the maximum clinical working gap is accepted by the NHS Trust?
Well, we used to say 2 years, but it's really competitive at the moment. I would say 6 months to a year to study for OSCE and study for TBT, but then you really do need to get back to work and to gain the experience. The competition is fierce for these jobs at the moment, and a 2 year gap just isn't going to cut it anymore. You really need to get back to work and keep gaining those skills. It's a really competitive market.
Yes.
Yeah, competition has gone tough now.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, and as I said, I don't think that the general jobs I think the general jobs going to be few and far between when recruitment starts up again. I think that the hospitals are going to be looking for these specialist roles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you both for joining me today. Have you got any more questions that I can help with?
Not
No,
at the
I
moment
think
from my side. You have
have
cleared it all for me.
yeah.
Oh, lovely to see
You
you
have all the
both. Thank
answers.
you. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
thank
for
you.
coming and
Thank you,
chatting to me today. It
Laura.
was lovely. So I'll put everybody's links in the comments below, I guess. Is that how you say it in YouTube
Description.
talk?
Description.
Yeah.
I will put all of the links in the description. Thank you everybody so much for
Yeah.
joining us today. If you've got any questions, please post them below. Please try not to flood the comments with questions asking specifically about your interview or your cause, because as I've said in the video, it's not happening at the moment. So if you have questions directly related to yourself, please email our team. I'll pop the link in below, but I can't give answers to people's specific kind of scenarios in the chat because I don't know, and also it's not really data protection to be telling you and everybody else that's reading what's going on with your application. So please email the team directly and they will let you know, and I'll put everybody else's contact details. And thank you to Hannah. That was really lovely to hear about the OSCE, and it's nice to see you both again. So I will see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
guys. Take care.
Laura.
Alisha.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.